Hi there, welcome back. I'm Sean, and this is Sean Turns Up the Volume. I've got a few different topics to talk to you about today, and I think I'm going to actually use some of my meager video editing skills to splice in some different things. Um, anyway, my first topic I wanted to hit on today and talk about is something called the Cloward-Piven strategy. Now, this was a political strategy developed by some American sociologists called Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven. This was just looking at the Wikipedia page for them. It looks like this was a married couple. I was looking at Francis Piven's page, and she was on the board for not only the ACLU, which has communist linked roots, but for the Democratic Socialists of America. Go figure. So let me tell you about what this strategy is. I'll read this from the Wikipedia. The strategy aims to utilize militant anti-poverty groups to facilitate a political crisis by overloading the welfare system via an increase in welfare claims, forcing the creation of a system of guaranteed minimum income, and redistributing income through the federal government. Okay, so this was developed in 1966 or put forward then, and so many decades ago at this point. And the development of the welfare state was coming about during that period. And so the objective of this strategy was to get so many people enrolled onto welfare, enrolled onto the taxpayer's dime, that it would overwhelm the system, and result in this, in redistributing income in a socialized system of guaranteed income. So everybody's going to get paid. You just get paid. The federal government just doles out the checks, and you just kind of magically get paid just because you exist. And so, I mean, this has become much more mainstream as far as people wanting this, and as far as the Democratic Party leaning in that direction. And it does talk about, if you look at that page, how they were trying to were pushing to influence the Democratic Party in that direction. You can see obviously that it worked. The reason why I'm bringing this up has to do with what's going on with illegal immigration. So both in America and Western Europe, we've seen the floodgates open of these open border policies when liberals, leftists have been in charge, and conveying this attitude that through the media, through the mainstream media, that you just need to welcome all in. Just call them refugees or something. Just call them asylum seekers. Put a nice spin on it. Well, I mean, they're coming from countries that are poor or have crime problems and corruption, which is like, I don't know, most countries in the world. Certainly there's like billions of people living in countries that are less fortunate than ours, and there are reasons for why they're less fortunate than ours. And so the floodgates must be open to let them in, as if we can just absorb any number of people, and then you see, especially in liberal states, for that they get signed up onto welfare. That the left, the Democrats, want these people to be able to right away be getting in on Social Security benefits and just all kind of welfare things. They're being put up in hotels and bussed around and flown and to different places, and being subsidized by state or federal governments. And so that's why I bring this up, because the collapse of the system didn't happen in the 60s. It didn't happen since then. But these Democrats, or really these socialists, did not give up their plans to do this. They just had to pivot. How can they overwhelm? How can they overwhelm the taxpayer, the government, the welfare system and state? Well, it's not happening. Like, people are doing too well for it. even though there's tens of millions of people who are to varying degrees using the welfare system, it's not collapsed, and it hasn't led to the socialist revolution that they want. It hasn't led to the universal income, and surely they would want to go farther than that. That's just like one piece of it, but it hasn't worked out. So what do? Well, we got to bring in millions, tens of millions of people from south of the border, from all over the world, fly them in from other countries. Don't make them walk, fly them in from Central and South America, even like the Biden administration was doing this, and bring them in mass so that they can overwhelm our welfare system. And so the left is so upset that Trump is actually going after these people, actually sending people back to their countries, because this is undermining their plan. They don't like Republicans actually pushing back against them. They like when Republicans are reaching across the aisle, trying to get along, and just kind of constantly moving, losing ground and being soft, and just being kind of wimpy, useless politicians. They'll talk big in congressional hearings, but then not actually follow through. You don't see the arrests. You don't see strong policy changes. You don't see strong vision. Like, there's a lot of complaints. I said in another video, like, we on the right, we got plenty of complaints about people on the right. And I know people on the left, you got plenty of complaints about your politicians as well. You know, there's plenty to be said about politicians not following through and all the games that go on in politics and things. So anyway, this strategy is called Cloward-Piven. It is an intentional strategy to undermine the U.S. government, to overwhelm the welfare services of our nation, and the left has used intentionally illegal immigration, mass migration, in order to do this, to destabilize our countries, to take the wealth that's being generated in our countries and to give that to other people who they have their own countries. They have their own tax systems and things. They want you to go to work, make money. The government takes that money, which is your time, your labor, your life, your giving, your skills, your knowledge, your giving of yourself to earn that. They want to take that from you, tell you don't deserve it, and give it to somebody else. Just take it, give it to somebody else. And then pat themselves on the back for how good they are and go, how dare you for being upset about it, you evil, awful person. Even call you a fascist, racist, bigoted, phobic Nazi. This is what they do. This is what they've been doing. This has been in the works for decades. And so, again, I want to encourage people coming over from the left over to the right, is that the plans that have been unfolding for a long, long time. They've been working on this. Whatever the Democratic Party used to be, I don't even know, because this has been going on for so long. They have been usurped by communists, by socialists, all manner of toxic Marxist ideology, and it has utterly shaped the party that it's been for decades. And I don't even know what a reasonable counterpart to the Republican Party, to the conservatives on the right would be. And I will say this before I finish this segment for today. The left portrays the right as if we want some national socialist, fascist state, which, just to hit on that, like the nationalist, socialist, like Workers' Party of Germany were socialists. They were responding to other forms of communism that was going on and socialism going on in Europe at the time. And they're just their own version of this. They'll let you have some private property and there'll be some still businesses can kind of do business, but the government's going to run it. And what the socialists wanted was just even more intense than that. And what's funny is that as the left loves to malign everybody else as Nazis, the system of government that they want is actually even worse, both in terms of numbers of people killed in the 20th century under communist socialist governments, but also in the fact that, the state would just own everything. You wouldn't even have the businesses and you wouldn't have the private property. So it's even more intense than what the Nazis were doing, and that's the direction that the left wants to go. And so it's just a big old smoke screen. Um, so with that, I lost whatever other train of thought I was going to say about that. Oh, my mind made the connection again. The point is that we on the right don't want anything like that. Like, we already have a vision for what our country ought to be, and can be successful as. It's the vision of the government outlaid in the Constitution of a capitalist society, of a constitutional republic with rights enshrined in the Constitution, and three branches of government, and figuring out things from there, and rights for and that government protects people's rights and gets out of the way of them, ideally, so that they can be preserved, right? That the rights that we have are limits on the government, not limits on us. They are negative rights. They're not things that the government gives to us, and that's a big difference between the left and the right too. For people on the right, rights mean things that the government can't take away. To people on the left, these are things called positive rights. They are demands that they think that because they exist, they deserve them. Because you're a living human being, you deserve to be provided shelter and clean water and food in abundance and a really good paying job, and just like housing and free health care. Like medical professionals should just be at your beck and call and work for free, I guess, because you just deserve it and owed it. Positive rights couldn't be more absurd. They basically are entitled, narcissistic, and demand the enslavement of everybody because you just say so and want it. It's a toxic idea, and we need to counter it. But we already have seen what the nation looks like, guided by Christian values, and as it was established by the Constitution. And there's in so many ways it's gotten better, right? Because they didn't get everything perfect. Things like we had to get rid of slavery, right? There were things that were wrong and that have been made right since then. It's imperfect, but in ways, we've gotten better, and things like that. So didn't turn into some theocracy. We're not like an Islamic theocracy or something like that, and most people on the right don't want that. We want freedom for everybody in ways that we've had before, and with even more of the good things that we've figured out and discovered along the way, as far as not discriminating against people for their race and sex and things like that, right? There's been good things, good changes that have come along in society. So you can already see. You can just look. Well, what happens when the Christian nationalists are in charge? We have a revolution that actually works out to more people's freedom, to abundance. The capitalism it's been raising people out of poverty all over the world wherever it gets tried. We can look at what happens there. We can look at what happens when the communists do their bloody revolutions, their cultural revolutions, and we can see from the socialists in Europe as they drive themselves more towards authoritarian states, right? People like to point to the socialism in Europe and go like, that's the good socialism that's working. And like, yeah, well, they get taxed like 50 or more percent of their incomes while they get their free things and their free healthcare and things. Yeah, I don't know about that. And increasingly losing their rights, losing free speech, more authoritarian governments, losing their farms for climate change and various things. And of course, you can look at the even more overtly authoritarian communist regimes through the 20th century and that still exist. I mean, North Korea, Cuba, still shining beacons of what communism is really about. So they're there, right? You can choose the beacon that is America and the West, or the Soviet Union, China, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, and even the direction where Europe is going. You've got those examples. So that's what I'll say about that today. I've got more stuff in store for you as well. So thank you for your time today. I'll see you in the next section.